Okay guys, so today we're going to go ahead and do a density liquid lab. What we're going to do is we are going to test 50 milliliters of different liquids to see what will happen if we layer them on top of each other in a graduated cylinder. So we are going to be using water, rubbing alcohol, dish soap, corn syrup, vegetable oil, a bead, a paper clip, a piece of pasta, and a piece of a wooden stick. And then we're going to put all of those things inside of a 500 milliliter graduated cylinder. What I already did was I measured out 50 milliliters of each of the liquids over here. You can see I already have them measured up to 50 milliliters before we go ahead and pour them into our nice big graduated cylinder. That way we can see all the different layers in here. So one of the questions you might have is, why is this red? This is just the rubbing alcohol that I added red food coloring in, just so you're able to see it when we put it into the graduated cylinder. If not, it would be clear and it'll look very similar to some of the other materials. So the first thing I'm going to go ahead and start out with is we are going to go ahead and start pouring the first liquid. The first liquid is going to be the corn syrup. It's a little bit slow. The word for that is viscosity. So it has a higher viscosity, which is why it's spilling so slowly. There we go. The next liquid I'm going to go ahead and pour in is our Dawn dish soap. You can already see it running down the side and starting to put a layer on top of that corn syrup. You can see where they're touching. It's kind of giving it a little glare. I'm not sure if that's showing up on the camera that well, but you might be able to see it. The next liquid is going to be our water. So we're going to go ahead and just pour in some regular water. Might take a little bit for that to separate out. You can see that there is a little bit of a difference. When I have you guys look at it, I'll have the camera come down at a different angle and you'll be able to see a little bit of the color difference between the water and the dish soap. That's because the dish soap's bluish color is refracting inside of it, so it's making it have a different color. The next liquid we're gonna do is corn syrup or vegetable oil. I'm going to tilt it so it doesn't make as much of a mess. You can already see that it is piling on top of the water that is there. Ooh, missed a little bit of that, but it's okay. You can see that there is such a difference between those ones, and the last one's going to be our rubbing alcohol. I have to pour this one slow or else it'll try and blend some of that food coloring I put in here, just so you can see the differences.
And after this, we're going to pause for a second and start to fill in what we have on our paper.
Okie dokie. Oh, okay. Okay guys, so what we're going to go ahead and do is we already wrote in all of these things down the side, and based on what we tested, you can see that they have their densities along the side already labeled for you. Now, the density for rubbing alcohol is 0.87 and the density for water is 1. When we ended up pouring that, what ended up happening is rubbing alcohol is on top of the water and the vegetable oil because its density is much less than those of the ones below it. So the heavier or the larger the density, the lower it goes in the column. So what we're going to do now is we are going to try and predict where some of those objects that we had will line up inside of our density column. So we're going to have a we'll start with the paper clip. We're gonna guess where we think the paper clip is going to say. If maybe I think it's more dense than the water, but less dense than the soap, it'll end in between the water and the soap. The next one's a piece of pasta. It's a nice piece of spaghetti pasta. Oh my gosh, I can't pick it up. Woo, rolling all over. The pasta, so where do we think the pasta's gonna go? Okay, the pasta we think is gonna sink all the way down to the bottom. The next one we think is the bead. And where do you think the bead is going to go? So I want you to draw a line to the specific location where you think the bead is gonna land. And the last one is the wood piece. So where is the wood going to go? Make sure you label where you think it's going to be. Is it less dense than the rubbing alcohol? Is it more dense? I don't know. You have to figure it out before we go ahead and test it. So what I want you to do is pause and make sure you make these predictions, and then we're gonna come back and we are going to go ahead and test each one of these things inside of our layers.
And if you don't agree with the predictions that are here, you need to choose a different prediction on your own paper. So we're gonna pause for just a second.
Okay guys, so we're gonna go ahead and start with our paper clip. I'm gonna go ahead and bring it to our graduated cylinder and see where it goes. Oh, and it's slowly getting all the way down. Okay, so what I would like you to do is make sure you label where the paper clip goes on the actual column. So when I'm doing that, I'm gonna draw my line to the specific spot where it goes, and it goes all the way down. The next one is going to be our pasta. Let's go ahead and find out where that goes. Okay. It looks like it's done moving, so you should be able to see it right in here. So I want you to go ahead and figure out what spot the pasta is at. The next is going to be the bead. So we're going to go ahead and drop the bead. And it's right about here. So you're gonna have to figure out that. And the last piece we're gonna test right now is going to be a wood stick. And voila, the last spot for the wooden stick. So make sure you draw your arrows to wherever you belong on this column, and then you're gonna go ahead and go to the back, and you have to calculate, well, not calculate, you have to make a prediction about what is the density of these objects that we just placed inside of our graduated cylinder. And that's it.
So your estimated density is going to be based off of the values that you already have for your known substances. So use those numbers to help you figure that out. And then you need to make sure that you answer all of the questions. That is the biggest part of your grade, is the questions. Please ask your teacher if you have questions about the questions.